sometimes all of your nightmares come true. We've got spouse and partner. And I am bothered by the vibe right now, to say the least. I honestly don't even want to do this reading. Um, been sitting with this energy for a little bit, and it's taken me a while to tune in to, I guess, the starting point, if you could call it. But it got kicked up by the telltale heart. It was brought up in a totally different context, but that's been stuck in my craw since that came up. I found a good dramatic reading of that on YouTube. It was Christopher Lee, Count Dooku from Star Wars, from the prequels. That was really good. And that's by Edgar Allan Poe. But that short story is really interesting because it's like this. It's not the descent into madness, like the madness had already been arrived at, but it's like the cliff. Like there's a great increase in those short, like 5 pages or whatever. Um, but this is also my third like deck change, and I don't typically do that. I just could not get tuned in. But when I finally did, it was a memory of a dream that I had like 5, 6 years ago that I was so bothered by. I actually tried to draw it to try and convey like what was going on. It was very, very rudimentary because I'm very out of date, very rusty on my drawing skills. But I posted it in like a couple different subreddits. I think it was like Dreams and then the Carl Jung subreddit. But I just went back to read that post, and it was this wild dream that it started out really pleasant as a bedroom dream. But then it quickly took a turn because I went downstairs to like make coffee or whatever and look behind me to the upstairs from whence I came, and it was gone. It was just like a fog that that section of the house like wasn't there anymore. And there was another room that I could see from the kitchen. I don't remember why, but I went to open the door, and it was like a world of darkness in that room. There was no light living in it. And there was a friend's body on the ground. And this is when, like, her and her ex, I think they were either still pregnant or had just had their kiddo. And so I wasn't quite sure where all this imagery was coming from. A young family, happy times. But back to the dream. So she was on the floor, and the girl from the ring, like, emerged from her and started walking towards me. And so, freaked out, obviously, slammed the door shut, and then suddenly her now ex husband at the time was in the living room with an alive her and their baby. And I was like panicked and like, don't go in there, she's dead on the ground, like, freaking out. And he was like, no, she's here, and or that's the old her, this is the new her, and she's fine, like nothing had ever happened. And I was just like stunned, shocked, in disbelief. Like I fell to the ground, tears, and it was just such a juxtaposition all those like contradictions of how the dream started versus how it progressed, and then that like, oh, everything's fine, like nothing's happening. Like, what? And I interpreted it as an interaction with my shadow because it was one of those dreams that like leaves you not right for a while. Um, like a big dream, I think is what Carl Jung had called them. And it just stuck with me for so long, but then I remembered it tonight while I was meditating, actually to an ambient music based on the Telltale Heart, and I got that like uncomfortable, like I had just walked into the room sort of thing. And then I got this card, spouse and partner, and I am bothered by the dice roll because it's the sixth house, but it's really Taurus and Mars that I'm bothered by. Because mythologically, that is a pairing, but Aphrodite and um, Aries. But with the mixture of like the zodiac sign and the planet, because Mars is the Roman name for Aries, like I'm getting that like identity kind of crisis that happened in the dream. Like, oh, that's the old one, the new one's fine. Like, what do you mean the new one? I just saw her. She is decidedly not fine. So I don't know. Something's weird. But I think the only way to get out of this energy is go through it. So we'll see. We'll see what all this yields. So what else about spouse and partner? Okay. Pathway. So it's like a stopped progression. It was in reverse. An occupation. Oh, jeez. Well, and it's a decrease in numbers too, 35 to 34. So what I'm getting from this is like a job loss. And I think I just saw a statistic recently from Laura Richards that job loss is like one of the most riskiest time for domestic violence and things like that, because of that aggravation of stress. And that's kind of what I'm getting from this. It's like the pathway for an occupation was stopped, and sometimes the spouse, the partner, is who ends up on the receiving end of that stress. Man, I don't like this vibe. But I've got the DC Tarot out here because I felt the Detective Tarot, what I've deemed as such, because Batman would be apropos. But man, it's like I know that was a dream, but it's like I can't make light of this energy. I don't know, because I don't even want to do it. Like I'm so uncomfortable. We've got Queen of Swords, Ten of Swords, both in reverse, Four of Cups, and Six of Pentacles in reverse. So Queen of Swords, one of my narcissist cards, when it's in reverse, it's in that like distorted expression, but the Queen of Swords would be more likely to be that covert aspect rather than like the overt, like malignant. Ten of Swords in reverse. That's I mean, I guess I can think of it in this context as like a worsening of the situation, because if you're If this was upright, and if it was the rider Waite, there would be like a person down there on the ground, you know? That's a bit easier to get up from than if you were like skewered on top of the swords. So it's like an impossible escape. Like, which being unalived would be pretty impossible to escape from. That's a pretty permanent state. But Four of Cups, that's apathy. That's like what was being expressed in the dream. The like, oh, that's the old one. Like, whatever. The new one's fine. Like, what are you talking about? And then Six of Pentacles, that's unequal give and take. So, like, obviously the spouse or the partner would not be deserved of being on the receiving end of how somebody expresses their stress or fails to regulate their stress. My goodness. And I mean, another statistic I've seen from Laura Richards, and I think myvoicemychoice.org, every 10 minutes we lose a woman to intimate partner violence or family violence. And so job loss could totally contribute to that, especially like economic state right now. Everybody needs 3 jobs to get by, but there are no jobs. My goodness. So, what else do we need to know about this? Let's try to follow this path. So this is like the inflection point. Because the Telltale Heart, he had this weird obsession with the old man's vulture eye. And he stalked him for 7 days before finally going through with things. But then it turned into this, like, game, I don't know, of, like, proving how sane he was, which made it sound like even that much more insane. But I would definitely recommend that dramatic reading with Christopher Lee. That was really good. Secret, yeah, okay. It's a keyhole. And neighborhood, but in reverse. And it looks like a duplex. Secret neighborhood? Usually we know where those are. Huh. This happened in a secret place? I mean, yeah, okay. That makes sense to me, or like the location was never told. I mean, it was under the floorboards, you know, in the Telltale Heart. But that was so close to home. And that was that secret, that close to home. What else? What about this secret? Or is it a standalone home? Is that why neighborhood is in reverse? It's like an abandoned RV? I mean, those probably have to end up just like littered about. You know, like their old buses or whatever, like in some random place. Something that tumbled down the side of a mountain or whatever. But is it like the vacation that nobody knew about? The secret? But some sort of like domicile that's not part of a larger community. And the numbers on it are 101, 102, and 02. I don't... Because, I mean, 101 and 102 so close together that kind of reminds me of, like, this is the old them, this is the new them. So weird. And then, plus the baby, 02. Marriage, yeah. Jeez. What's going on? And this stuff just happens all the time, unfortunately. You know, I am seeing a lot more discourse right now with believing women and the internet getting in a fervor about, like, well, the accusations are credible. They filed reports. Like, what is it going to take for y'all to believe them? And then there's this, like, well, when they're convicted by the system built by the dominant demographic to protect the dominant demographic, like, let's not act like there isn't massive amounts of bias involved in this whole process. Like, the requirements for reporting, I think, like, they'll de facto include some type of evaluation in certain cases, like a psychiatric evaluation, which, what a weapon against victims. Like, it's just a deterrent to reporting. Especially given, like, all the available data on, like, I think I saw average 2% of reports are false, reports of assault, which means 98% are true. I'd bet my bottom dollar not that many people are being believed. Of people of any ilk. Because I know these topics tend to disproportionately affect women, but not exclusively. But what else about marriage? Secret, not neighborhood marriage. Like, I'm trying to fish around, like, the Desperate Housewives storylines, because it kind of feels like that. I mean, maybe it just is reinforcing the spouse, or... like, quickly jumping into a new relationship with, like, inappropriate timing. Like, love bombing, getting married, like, really fast. Yeah. 10 of Cups. That's, like, the ultimate happiness family card. I would have expected that to come out in reverse in this case, but maybe that's what's being sold. Is this ultimate happiness, you know? Because that's how love bombing works. Because the inclination is like, at least how it comes out in my mind, is that a job loss might lead to a more like impulsive decision. This almost feels like premeditated, like getting married really quickly as like a cover, something like that. Which I don't know if they actually did on Desperate Housewives or not. It was a good show. So what else about this Ten of Cups? Take the bottom one. Five of Swords in reverse. To bring conflict to an end. Is this about custody? I'm just going based off the dream. Because the baby, the newborn, was with the alive them. So it's like a replacement. What was that? Like body snatchers? Something to bring a conflict to an end. Which, in twisted logic, yeah, unaliving someone would bring a conflict to an end temporarily until people notice that person isn't around. Four of Pentacles, and that was in reverse. Losing control. Losing control of this, like, carefully calculated, all pieces of the puzzle must go in one direction or this doesn't work. I feel like there's more there. Maybe part of this wasn't premeditated. It's like there was some conflict already underway, like some family conflict, something like that. But then job loss happened. And there was a sudden, and there's the clock chime, there was a sudden escalation as a result of that. And so now you have this impulsive action in the middle of what was a carefully calculated scheme. Could also be, like, because this neighborhood is in the reverse, like needing somewhere to stay, you know, which would be in line with like job loss, things like that. What else? What do we need to know next? Nope. Thought about it. Nope. Affair. maybe that's how it started with the new person, like the new them, but it's like they're a replacement for them. Like, do they look creepily similar or something? What about affair? Maybe act creepily similar? Privileged lady. That's a 12, so 3, and then this card was a 3 as well. Is this to get money? I mean, it all seems to kind of follow that stuff that you see with job loss. Trying to secure money, trying to potentially secure custody. Oh, an official person fell out too. 22, 4, so progression up. Trying to re-establish status. Like, by any means necessary, is what I'm gathering. Which is one thing if it's survival, but status? I don't know. I guess I'm just not motivated by such things. Because, like, I'd like to get to the point of having, you know, like a nice cushion so I don't have to worry about emergencies and things like that. Which, at this juncture, seems like a really excessive amount of money. So what about official person and privileged lady and affair? 2 of Cups. There's the affair. 2 very different cups. Maybe that's the difference in status, because it almost gives me that, like, Aphrodite and Ares vibe, because they're both gods of war, but Aphrodite also has the goddess of love aspect to her. So he's more like pure fire, and she's more muted fire. And they're not exactly one as they cross over here. So what else? What do we need to know about the 2 of Cups? King of Cups, Ace of Pentacles, 6 of Cups, and the Chariot. Huh, let's see. So someone who's mastered emotions, new opportunity. That's the soulmate card. Can also be the children card, though. It's in the Rider-Waite. The 6 of Cups, there's like the 2 kids. One's giving the other flowers. Oh, very nice, very innocent. Maybe not in this context, but... And then the Chariot, and it's the Flash. Speed. Movement. It's like, that's that love bombing, like, get it done. So maybe the impulsive action, hastened, quickened the timeline. Is there another child? Maybe with the affair partner, something like that. But from the King of Cups, like, I'm getting more the reversed vibe, even though it's in the upright. Like, whichever other came out like that. It was the Ten of Cups. It's like presenting as the nurturing person, but they're not. A very well affixed mask. And, you know, just on that topic of status, people will do so much just for money. It's fleeting. Like, you, of course, you need what you need to survive and all that, and I think you should be able to access, like, what you want, be able to travel, you know, all these things, experience the world a bit. But this fervor, I don't know. Maybe it's just not in my wiring, I guess. Because even the material things that I've looked to in the past that I don't even want anymore, like a house or anything, and it's still just inordinately expensive to get those things. I don't know. To be able to afford luxury, that's a lot. So what else do we need to know? And I guess, like, because I mean, to each their own, you know. But if you're chasing status like that, it just makes me wonder, like, what's missing? Maybe nothing. Maybe it's just, like, they like the finer things in life. Cool. Whatever. They sound nice. But it's that almost panicked, like I must have. Like it's like a compulsion. So what else? Where's all this leading? Yeah. Oh no. Well, there's that card with some floorboards. The unaliving. I feel like it's going to be found out. If this intended for entertainment purposes only somehow links up with a real world event, I think it'll be found out. Because that's the premise of the Telltale Heart. And I mean, I guess spoiler alert, but when did that come out? 1800s? Whatever. Oh. See, usually my, like, predictive dreams are much more mundane. Like dreaming that I ran out of conditioner and then that morning I run out of shampoo in the shower. I don't know. I think there's somewhere lurking in the recesses of my psyche. My brain knows how many pumps there are in a liter of shampoo and conditioner. I just don't consciously pay attention to those things because what's it? Sensory gatekeeping? It's whatever the filtering that your brain does so you're not taking in every single little detail of your environment at all times because you would go mad. You know, like the beating of a heart. It'd drive you crazy so fast. But this dream was like years ago. So what else about these floorboards? Child. What? In the dream, the child was okay. So there's that. Maybe that's the intention? Like what? A driving force behind this? Because there's so many headlines and stories and stuff that I see of like disgruntled ex takes out former partner and children and themself. Like something like that. And it's like just the selfishness of that. You know, like go to therapy. Like that is an option, a much healthier option for everybody involved. And yes, it hurts that families break apart and you lose jobs and you lose status and things like that. If there is still breath in your chest, you can make it right. You can write your course. You have the opportunity to change your mind. That maybe you were chasing hollow, shallow things. Maybe there's other stuff for you in life that you would like to pursue or learn. You know, it's a big world out there. Lives are pretty long, generally speaking. There's a lot to do with that time if you let yourself and others have it. Well, I'll take that bottom one. Take that one too. Seven of Swords, because that's that deception. And the Ten of Pentacles in reverse. So that's that like loss of material. And Ten of Pentacles is a family card too, like legacy. Because they'll have multiple generations within that card. But Seven of Swords. See, normally that's a figure taking 5 of the 7 swords away from the warring camp so they're not available for a battle in the morning. But in this, it's just one person, one hand, disembodied hand, taking one sword, meaning they weren't disarmed. As that candle flickers quite a bit. Maybe... See, and this is one of those problems that gets created by not believing victims. If somebody, and I'm just speaking from the perspective of the states, I don't know for anybody else, but you lose access to your weapons, as far as I know, with domestic violence charges. So, if a victim is not believed, then those weapons, they're not taken away. All 7 swords are in possession of this disembodied hand. Candle seems to be supporting me in this idea. So they got to retain something that made them dangerous. And it was also like, it was the nonchalantness in the dream that I was so bothered by. Because it went from seeing her gone on the floor to her upright, just materialized out of nowhere. Maybe out of like the foggy part of the house? I don't know. Very illusory. But material, like pentacles, that's also health. And 10 of pentacles, that's as many as you could have. So you could interpret that as a life. The ending of one. Just leaves me with such a, like, pit in my chest. Maybe there's something, I don't know, I needed to process still about this dream, but... And there's that stellium and Aries this week. Oh, 7. 7 planet stellium in Aries, which is like a once in a lifetime. And then the telltale heart, he stalked the old man for 7 days. Interesting. Huh. Well, as per the usual with readings like this, I hope I'm wrong. I hope this is all malarkey and I'm completely off base. Page of Pentacles. An opportunity to learn that was missed. This was like... There were 2 choices. To regulate thyself or not. And it seems like the decision was not. Man. Can't help but notice this moon on her chest. It seems significant to me, just like the way the moon is shifting, like the way it shows up in art and such. It's kind of like in tarot when a sword is upright, that's like an on guard, like welcome. You're welcome to engage. And if it's down, negotiations are over. Like there's no more. But I want to see, like, where is this headed? So it seems like the unfortunate has occurred. What happens in the wake of that? Dating. Is this a serial unaliver? Because immediately what came to mind was the show You. I don't know if it's just like the style of this card. It's a good show. Maybe it's the kind of floofy hair a little bit. But that whole idea that he could just go from, what was it, like place to place under different names. Um, yeah. Somebody maybe from the outside looking in, maybe like a serial monogamist, like consistently in relationships, no downtime between things. Which again, to each their own, you know. But I guess the way I look at things is like, you're not in competition with other men, other women. You are in competition with my peace. That's some pretty stiff competition. You have to be an improvement on that. Man, that's a high bar, and I recognize that. House? What? It feels like the cycle's starting over. That's giving me the creeps. I don't know. It's kind of like if you have a friend that's like constantly, oh, I'm going on a date every, a different date every night of the week. Which, if that's your thing, cool. But it seems a little like busy. Like, what are you running from? You know? I'm a very introverty introvert. I could not. It's too people-y for me. That's another problem with dating for me. It's like, how do I find someone who also likes to spend their time alone? How do we cross paths? And I hate apps. So, with just a fiery passion, they're so superficial, and to me it takes so much of the fun out of the whole process. Like, I want to wonder, I want to guess, I want to like, do you talk to everybody like this? Are you always like this? I don't know. I want to figure it out. So what about house and dating? A lot of almosts here. House and dating. Here we go. There's the King of Swords, but upright. How many is this? That's 4. So King of Swords. And looks like that's Deadshot, maybe? Is that right? Page of Cups, a messenger. The Lovers, my left ear is ringing. And King of Pentacles, Lex Luthor. And I can't remember which characters these are, but I like seeing it's 2 men. Very different from most Lovers cards. Is this person on the DL? Because that can generate a lot of like self-hatred of having to mask like that. That can lead to, fervently chasing like relationship after relationship, wondering why you can't achieve happiness when really you're in denial about who you are. Maybe in a situation where it's not safe to come out, something like that. But then that King of Pentacles, that's just like chasing the almighty dollar to me, because he was like a billionaire. Um, Constant wanton disregard for how his actions affect the environment, the community, and such. But also operating with that twisted logic, too, of a supervillain. But Deadshot was very keen. And it kind of looks like he's running, running through a cityscape. So I'm almost getting, like, law enforcement from that. Because the King of Swords can be, like, a judge, a lawyer, a police officer, But it's like they're seeing the pattern, maybe seeing the pattern between romantic partners of this dating and the affair and, like, all this stuff. And it's like they're getting the message. They're finally, like, figuring out this long-standing menace who's been leaving, like, a path of destruction, all in the name of the almighty dollar. Or maybe there's a money trail, as the candle goes. Maybe that's the break. That there's something some inconsistency or something in monies. I don't know. One of those heavy, but I do feel like it cleared the air for me a little bit. Like it cleared the vibe out, because it felt a little, like, stifling, I guess. Maybe I've got my own reflection to do on that dream. Well, we'll see. I hope this doesn't resonate for anybody, really. Man, and what a song, too. What an album name. Effed My Way Up to the Top, Lana Del Rey. That's from Ultraviolence. And Song 2 by Blur. Very vague. But it's a very recognizable song. But I generally don't connect the song to the title. It's just so vague. Kind of like the name difference with Mars and Aries. But some good music. I really like that Ultraviolence album. Very, like, she's got such an ethereal feel to her. So if there's something going on with you that's just, like, gnawing at you, like a dream or a poem or whatnot, maybe this is just overall a sign to sit with it. Like, hold some space for that feeling. Process it through music. We've talked about a couple different shows, whatnot. And as with any tarot reading, especially any of this ilk, if you go into the grass looking for snakes, you're probably going to find them. But overall, I hope this helps. I hope it doesn't resonate, and we'll see you next time. Thanks so much.